Jake had no clue that his entire world was about to shatter that very evening. He'd been invited to a surprise celebration honoring a friend's recent promotion. Emma, his wife, had gone ahead to help organize the event. This wasn't unexpected, given her flair for drama and passion for orchestrating elaborate surprises. When she suggested he arrive late for a grand entrance, Jake didn't hesitate. He trusted her implicitly. There was no reason not to. However, the instant he stepped inside, something fell off. The room buzzed with energy. Music played, laughter filled the air, and conversations hummed all around. Guests mingled, impeccably dressed, holding drinks, faces glowing with smiles. It should have felt warm and welcoming, but it didn't. A strange unease settled over him. He scanned the crowd, searching for Emma, assuming she was busy with last-minute arrangements. But she wasn't behind the bar mixing cocktails, nor was she chatting with anyone. She was nowhere to be seen. A small knot of anxiety started tightening in his chest, subtle at first, but growing by the second. No one else seemed to notice anything unusual. They continued to laugh, toast, and dance. Yet for Jake, the night was taking a sinister turn. Then a stranger approached, a woman he didn't recognize. Her face was strained, uncertain. She said nothing immediately, just gazed at him with eyes weighted by a burden she clearly wished to share. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible, a whisper carrying a chilling message. "You should check the guest room upstairs." Her words struck him like a sudden splash of freezing water, though he didn't fully grasp why. Some instinct surged inside him, compelling him toward the staircase, dread coiling tighter with every step. His heart hammered as he climbed slowly, the party noises fading behind him. Outside the guest room door, he paused, the doorknob cold against his palm. He inhaled deeply, then pushed the door open. Time seemed to halt. Inside, his Emma, was wrapped in the arms of another man. Their faces were dangerously close, their bodies intimately entwined. Shock rooted Jake to the spot. Their eyes met, wide with panic and guilt. No words passed between them. The silence screamed louder than anything spoken could. Jake didn't shout or demand explanations. Without a sound, he turned and walked away. The night air hit him outside, sharp and cold, but it couldn't quell the tempest raging inside. He wandered through the rest of the evening like a ghost, hearing voices but not listening, seeing faces but not truly recognizing anyone. Everything blurred into numbness. The sting of betrayal throbbed relentlessly within him. When Emma finally returned home that night, Jake couldn't bring himself to speak. He refused her excuses, her explanations. He sat silently, weighed down by the crushing weight of it all. By morning, she insisted they have a conversation. They sat across from each other at the kitchen table. Once a place of shared joy, now cold and unfamiliar. Emma trembled, eyes red and swollen from tears. Jake's face was a mask, calm on the surface but boiling with suppressed fury. "I don't even know where to begin," Emma whispered, her voice cracking. "But I have to try. Please, just let me talk." Jake said nothing at first. He raised his coffee, took a deliberate sip, then set the cup down heavily, making her flinch. "Speak," he said finally, his tone flat and sharp. "But know this, nothing you say will change how I feel right now." Emma nodded, voice fragile. "It was a mistake. A terrible, awful mistake. I don't want to lose you, Jake. I love you. I've always loved you." A bitter, humorless laugh escaped him. "Love," he repeated coldly. "You call that love? Sneaking behind my back? If that's what love means to you, then I want no part of it." Her composure shattered completely, tears pouring down. "You're right," she sobbed. "I was wrong. So wrong. I felt disconnected from you. I thought maybe you didn't care anymore. I was scared. I let it overwhelm me. I was weak." Jake's heart ached at her words, but his expression stayed unreadable. He searched her face, hoping to find the woman he married, but saw only a stranger. The silence stretched between them. He faced a choice: walk away or try to mend the broken pieces. A decision that would shape everything from now on. Emma reached out, trembling. "No one else is involved," she whispered. Maybe there's still something worth fighting for." I know I broke your trust, Jake. But please, give me one more chance. Let's try to fix this. The room fell silent once more. Jake stared down the shattered fragment of a life he never imagined would crumble. Her eyes searched his, silently begging for understanding, forgiveness, anything to restore what was lost. Suddenly, Jake stood, tension coiling through his body like a storm of rage and sorrow barely held at bay. He stepped back from her, desperate to break free from the suffocating burden of her betrayal. Yet, almost immediately, he faced her once more, his eyes burning with a mix of fury and heartbreak. "What stings the most, Emma?" he asked, his voice shaking under the weight of his emotions. "Is it that you managed to deceive me? How could you do this?" Each syllable he uttered cut sharply, as though carving into fragile remnants of their connection. "Our marriage was built on trust," he murmured, his tone strained and low. "And now that trust has vanished. Without it, there's nothing left. You can't build a future without trust, Emma." She remained frozen, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. Every drop was an unspoken apology, a visible sign of the guilt crushing her. Her eyes searched his face, pleading to find the man she once knew. But all she encountered was a barrier she could no longer penetrate. Amidst his pain, a brief flicker of the man who once loved her softened Jake. A small part of him longed to reach out, to wipe away her tears. But that fleeting tenderness was swiftly drowned by the harsh, unforgiving reality of what she had done. His anger surged back, devouring the momentary compassion. He leaned forward, taking a deep, trembling breath. "I don't even know what I feel for you anymore," he whispered, each word seeming to be ripped from his soul. "Love? Anger? Disappointment? I'm not sure. But one thing I do know, I don't trust you. And without trust, nothing else matters." Emma was crushed. His words shattered her, and the gravity of what she destroyed bore down like a relentless wave. She could still see the pain reflected in his eyes, but more painful was the finality in his voice. The man she loved was slipping away, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Jake turned to leave, unable to endure any more. At the door, he paused, his voice thick with exhaustion. "Give me time, but don't expect a miracle." When the door clicked closed behind him, silence swallowed the room, heavy, suffocating. Alone, he sat, the past pressing down on his chest, as if it were a physical weight. A cold, forgotten cup of coffee rested on the table, a haunting emblem of the life they once shared. Now, everything felt distorted, like trying to grasp a dream that slips through your fingers no matter how tight you hold on. Her tears and desperate pleas echoed in his mind, but they couldn't undo what was done. Her betrayal had carved a wound deep inside him, one that might never truly heal. His thoughts spun in endless circles, all leading back to that night. That choice, her choice, that altered everything. He wrestled with the truth. The love he had once carried for her no longer had the strength to survive the damage inflicted. The days that followed were shrouded in numbness. Pain became his constant companion, a shadow trailing every step. Eventually, Jake realized he had to make a decision. He couldn't remain suspended in limbo forever. He could either bear the hurt and move on or start anew, free from the ruins of what once was. One morning, after weeks of deep reflection, he stood before the mirror. The man staring back appeared hollow, worn down by grief and fatigue. This was no longer the man who had once loved wholeheartedly. This was someone broken. But as he stared more closely, he glimpsed something else. Possibility, the faintest glimmer of strength. He whispered to himself, barely audible, yet steady with quiet determination. "I can't do this alone anymore. I won't let this marriage destroy me." And just like that, a resolution formed. He had to confront Emma again, not to argue, not to beg, but to bring closure. They sat once more at the kitchen table, the same one that had once held morning coffees, late-night talks, and countless shared dreams. Now it felt cold, stripped of its former warmth. Jake was not cruel, but his words were firm and unyielding. Carefully chosen, they left no room for misunderstanding. "Emma," he began slowly, "I've spent many days reflecting on all of this, my love for you, the trust we had, and I've reached a conclusion. I can't remain in this marriage, not without trust. And without trust, There's nothing between us." Her eyes widened, a flicker of desperation appearing briefly before fading into quiet, resigned sorrow. Tears came again, softer now, no longer pleading, just mourning. "I understand," she whispered, barely audible. "I know I've lost you. I know this can't be fixed." Jake felt the weight of her grief settle in his chest. A pang of guilt, maybe even a trace of lingering love, stirred within, but it wasn't enough. Their love could no longer hold them together. The fracture was too deep. "I wish there was another way," he said gently. "But there isn't. I hope you find peace." And that was the end. No shouting, no anger, just quiet inevitability. The divorce was swift and clean, far more subdued than anyone had expected. Emma left the house. Jake stayed behind, though the place no longer felt like home. The walls seemed to close in, echoing with ghosts of the past. Time passed. Jake tried to reclaim his life. He laughed again, reunited with friends, and slowly re-entered the world. But the nights remained hardest. In the stillness, memories returned. Her face, the betrayal, the pain that never fully faded, lingering just beneath the surface. Yet, even in those darkest hours, Jake knew he had made the right choice. He had chosen to save himself. One day, walking alone beneath a vast, empty sky, Jake spoke aloud as